You probably already heard about Claude Cowork. Anthropic released these tools a couple months ago, and a lot of information appeared around this topic, how to use this and how to integrate this. But today I want to show you something specific, how I use this tool inside my productivity system, what kind of tools I use, how I integrate the Claude Cowork, what works for me and what didn't work for me. Today I want to show you my lessons learning and what fails I found during to use this tool. And here is my real workflow in life. Before we start, everything that I show you here today is my personal approach. It's my experiment, my conclusion. You need always do your own research before you implement anything. You need to understand what Coworks has access to, what sensitive data means in your context, and what your security boundaries are. Don't just copy my approach, understand it at first. So I use Claude Cowork for a bunch of different cases. For example, cases when I need to work with my original file or original design and create the new one based on the original design. For example, emails, when I have original design of my email or previous emails and I need to create a new one email with updated text, I can use Claude Cowork and handle this request in a couple of seconds. The second case is presentations. When I have some previous presentations or brand book, I can create the new presentation for the new topic based on my original design, and it takes a couple of minutes to create, change, update, and etc. Of course, you can use Gamma tool or extension inside the PowerPoint created by Anthropic, but Claude Cowork helped me to handle this process. Notion. I use Notion as my learning system. Inside the Notion, I build the roadmap with skills I want to improve, and I track the status of each of skills, what kind of materials I want to learn, where I'm going now, and etc. And Cowork help me to analyze my flow, analyze my process, and give me some advice on what the next, what I need to put in the hold, and etc. And now I want to show you how I use this in my project management system and how I integrate to Cowork to my original system that I use many years. But before we start, I want to highlight and give you context about framework that I use in my original system. I use 12-week cycle. It created based on the book, the 12-week year. I highly recommend this book because this book gives me some structure, how to focus on small chunks of targets, break down this target and achieve and complete the targets and receive the outcome that I want to receive. So how I use this? I use a 12-week cycle. I create some targets for a quarter. Then I break down these 2 months targets of focusing, then weeks, and then day task based on weeks. So it's my main framework. I use this framework many years and it works correctly for me all these years that I use them. So, and now let's go to Cowork and how I integrated this Cowork. Before you start working with Cowork, you need to create dedicated space on your hardware, like folder. And I created the folder, My Daily Management System. It's the name of my folder. And here the trick. Inside the folder, you need to put a bunch of documents about you, about your system, about your frameworks, about your environment, some limitations, and etc. I create a bunch of documents like task planning, weekly planning, learning, about me, constraints and blockers, and rulers. All documents I created in MD format, Markdown format, because it takes less tokens when Claude work with this document. So to each of these documents, I put some limitations or information about myself, about my 12 weeks frameworks, also about my Todoist system. Yes, I use Todoist system. I will show you in a couple minutes. Also, I added some constraints and blockers. It's about limitation, what Claude Cowork can do and what cannot do. Some rules about how to handle, how to answer to me, and etc. And some cadency, how I work with week planning, how I work with task planning, and etc. Here's the example of my files that I have created. Put a comment, some request if you want to receive more information about each of these documents. Or also, I recommend you ask AI. Doesn't matter what kind of AI tools you will use. You can use the Claude, and Claude will work as interviewer, ask you a couple of questions. You answer these questions, and then Claude create for you this type of documents. This type of documents can be different based on your cases. These documents created based on my cases and my requests. Example, if you want to work with marketing project, you can create here some marketing documents about your product, about your company, brand book, audience, and etc. Give some context to your system, how to work more correctly and what you want to receive. Some framework about requests. Okay, let's back to structure. Yes, I have created this structure. It's like a brain for my cowork now. Then I built some simple system architecture. It's not something complicated. Yeah, it's super simple. I use Claude Cowork, of course. I integrate, I give this access to folder on my hardware. Also, I use Todoist because it's my main tool. I use Todoist many years and it's cover all my requests. I know most people use Notion or different type of project or task management, but my choice is Todoist. I love this tool. It's an amazing tool that cover all my requests. And I connect Zapier. I connect Claude Cowork and Todoist using Zapier MCP server. Of course, you can create your own MCP server. And here I want to highlight some key point because Zapier, you need to use some subscription because free tier, it's so limited by request and you can use this request and this disappeared so quickly. So inside the Zapier, when you connect your Todoist, I give only free tools. You can give the different types of tools to Todoist. Inside Todoist, it's like request or permissions. Inside this Todoist permission, I give access only to find a project, find a task, and create a task. I didn't add any permissions to edit my current task, delete task, assign the people, and etc. Because I believe it's some sensitive data and I don't want to break down my system and destroy my system. So, but here you can see some maybe sensitive points is create a task. It's something that system AI can do inside my current Todoist system. But here some trick what I did. I created a dedicated space only for Claude Cowork. How it looks inside the Todoist. Of course, the different tools have the same functionality when you create different workspace for different purpose. And here I have two workspace. It's my projects workspace. It's my original workspace where I work daily based. It's my project management system, and then I create Claude workspace with different projects inside, and Claude Cowork can add tasks only to Claude workspace and can read only my projects. Claude Cowork cannot add any task to my project's workspace. It's some limitations about the security that I want to be sure that everything will be correctly if AI add or edit something inside my system. So how I work daily base with this architecture. When I ask something, Claude Cowork go to original files to read some rules how to act, then connect to this, and I receive the answers. So I use for a couple of cases. For weekly review, when I start a week, I want to create some main focuses. It's always on only 5. I always create the 5 main focuses for a week, and Claude Cowork helped me create these 5 focuses on this week. On this week with clear outcome, what I can receive when I achieve these goals, focus, and etc. and then create some daily task based on my weekly focuses. Of course, daily base, you can ask to check what happened now, what kind of task we completed already, or we can put something on hold, or you want to change your daily task to receive maximum outcome to end of the week, and etc. This gives you some flexibility, and system give you some vision how to create correctly tasks and outcome based on your weekly, monthly, and quarterly targets based on 12 weeks framework. And now I want to highlight for you some key points. It's about security, because we give some access to our hardware, it's our for our laptop, etc. And now let's talk about security. When we use Claude Cowork, we agree that we give access to our folder on our hardware, and according to Anthropic documentation, use Claude Cowork safely. You can find this link in publicly. We can find some rules how to minimize the risk of using these tools. Example, as I mentioned before, working with sensitive information. You need to avoid working any sensitive information like financial documents and etc. You need to anonymize, and I have the rules. You need to ask the questions. It's okay if this information will appear publicly. If no, you need to anonymize this data before you start using this. Remove all sensitive data from your files. Use these files like template, without the name of clients, without the name of people, or any sensitive financial information, security data, passwords, and etc. Try to use this as some preparation templates, documents, or something else. Yes, of course, when you share some access to your files, as I did before, I give access to my project system, but inside this project system, I don't have any sensitive data like client's name, my security information, something that I don't want to show someone, and etc. Because inside my project system, I use only some project vision with tasks and etc. But without any sensitive information. It's a main point. Always remember about security. Security, number one, what we need to remember now, daily base, when we work with any AI tools and we give access to our hardware or our accounts, etc. Now I want to show you how it works. Inside this my daily management system, I attached folder with all files that I have created before about myself, about my framework, tasks, and etc. Also, I added connection with Zapier MCP to my Todoist. Also, I added some instructions how Cowork need to act based on something. And here you can see my latest request. I will show you the last one, what I asked and what I received. Of course, I blur some sensitive information that I don't want to show, but I want to show you request. It's about 2 tasks that I want to complete by the end of the week and receive the maximum outcome. Inside the context windows, you can see connectors that Cowork connect with Zapier, then Cowork read all files that I have attached for them in my folder and instruction, and I received a nice outcome that I need to focus on to YouTube and to app to receive the maximum outcome. And that's how this system works for me. And now I want to show what difference between Claude Chat and Claude Cowork in my vision. So Claude Chat and Claude Cowork, what's the difference and what the similar things? For me, based on the cases, you can create the same in the both spaces in Chat and Cowork. One different that in Chat you have the projects and all files you will store in some server side in Anthropic, and Claude Cowork you will store all your files in your hardware, and this gives you some quality and speed of editing files, editing new files or and something, and you don't need to re-upload files that you need to do in Claude Chat. So for me, it's practical advantage. It's not magic, but it's only about the workflow speed. So, and I see the real potential to Claude Cowork is the work task, but without sensitive data. When you have some repeated tasks, repeated files, as I mentioned before, when you can create some template files and etc. So projects, business process, operational decisions, and the key here again, it's about anonymization the data. Don't share real company data, your clients data, your some restriction information, team details, people name, and etc. You need a structure, you need a logic, and you need some patterns. So it's good tool that for marketing, for operation people, for people from management, project managers, and etc. Anyone who works with complexity can use this, but always remember about sensitive data and security. So Claude Cowork is the powerful tool, but its power comes from the structure you build around this tool. You need to start from creating the workflow, the files that I mentioned before, the rules, integration, and etc. And then you can use these tools correctly, because this agent can help you and can be integrated in your workflow and boost your productivity and amount of times. But everything starts from preparation. It's not just one request and one prompt. As I showed you, files, system, rules. And if you have any questions about this and how to integrate this in your workflow, just drop in the comments. I will answer to everyone. Thank you everyone who watched this video. In the next video, we will dive deep in the next interesting cases, and I will show you how to work with the new tools.